Hey there, this is Out Motorsports. My name is Jake, and we are here with the 2020 Honda Civic Type-R. We had a Civic Si about a month ago, and we got invited to a little pumpkin spice rally, a little fall rally here, and Honda was kind enough to send us a Type-R to sample out on some back roads. Unfortunately, we were not able to take it to the racetrack, so this is kind of the next best thing. So anyway, we're here with a bunch of friends. Everyone is masked up, and we're going to be driving off in groups with radios to keep communication so we don't have to be, you know, in cars and all that with each other. But got some really cool hardware here. Things like this Type-R that are newer. Tyler from Out is also here in a Toyota Avalon TRD. And then we've got a bunch of cool stuff from more or less every country and place of origin. All right, now as far as the Type-R is concerned, hardware-wise, this is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. The Civic Si and other Civics make do with a 1.5-liter, so different motor. Honda still calls it part of the Earth Dreams family. This makes 306 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, and that is still just front-wheel drive. A lot of people might say, oh, it needs all-wheel drive. Really, it doesn't. It's got a standard limited-slip diff, so it really can put the power down pretty nicely. You do have a standard tri-exit exhaust. It's got 3 exhaust tips. It's not adaptive, it's just whatever loudness, no matter what your driving mode is. You do have some 20-inch wheels with a 30 profile tire. It's a very skinny tire. It was a little unnerving driving through downtown Philadelphia last night, but managed to avoid the potholes there. And then you've got the big wing, the front splitter, and a couple little other aerodynamic effects going on that Honda claims will help at higher speeds. So yes, the car might look a little boy racery, but if it helps, it helps, and aero is aero. And then there's a bunch of air ducts that will send air to cool the brakes, to cool the engine. They are functional for the most part. And of course, to help you stop all of this, you do have standard Brembo brake calipers up front, non-Brembos in the rear, but red painted to match. Alright, so driving impressions of this 2020 Civic Type-R. If you recall, I had a Civic Si about a month ago, and I actually took that one to Summit Point for a track cross, which is more or less an autocross format of event on a racetrack. And the Si was impressive on paper, and in person, it didn't wow me as much as I had hoped it would. It was very competent, but the engine kind of stopped making power once it fell out of its torque band thanks to that small turbo in the 1.5-liter 4-cylinder. I thought the clutch and shifter were kind of light and vague, and it was not the most gratifying driving experience, even though that car had adaptive shocks, it had a limited slip diff. It's a very well-packaged car. In any case, the Type-R compared to the Si is really a very different car, and I drove one of these when they first came out for about 5 or 10 minutes, and I thought everything felt too heavy. The car felt just kind of big and a little lethargic to me for driving around town a little. And now that I've driven the Si and the Type-R more or less back to back, and I've put a lot of miles on this Type-R between highway driving and all these back roads here, the Si doesn't have it. The Type-R is really, really good. And where the Type-R succeeds so much is making you feel like this is a car that puts driving above all else. They really put performance above everything here. And the Si, you know, in days of Honda past, the Si was, you know, still a driver's car. It was just not as nutty as a Type-R, if you could even get a Type-R, which in the United States you couldn't. But the current Honda Civic Si just feels kind of dull and numb compared to this Type-R, and this Type-R is so good. It really makes me a little bummed that the Si isn't better. So with the comparison to the 2020 Civic Si out of the way, let's just talk Type-R. So this, like I said, is a $38,000 Honda Civic, which means it needs to be damn good if they're going to charge that much money for it, and the good news is, it is damn good. It is a 2-liter Earth Dreams turbocharged 4-cylinder compared to the 1.5-liter 4-cylinder, also turbocharged in the Si, and some of the other non-Si Civic trims. So this is a bigger engine, and it's making significantly more horsepower and torque. This is making 306 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. That is a lot for a Honda Civic. The only transmission you can get with this car is a 6-speed manual with this nice metal shift knob. The 6-speed in this car is excellent. It has some nice feel. The shift action is really good. I have had some issues with the synchros, particularly going into 2nd and 4th. The car doesn't love it every time I try it, especially if I'm, you know, kind of hammering it around a back road a little bit. That said, these are press loans. A ton of people drive these with varying degrees of stick shift competence, so not fair to say that all Type Rs maybe have crunchy synchros. This car in particular has them very infrequently, but I've had it a couple times. In any case, you've got that 306 horsepower 4-cylinder. You've got this very good 6-speed manual. It is connected to a clutch pedal that actually has feel. It is still pretty light. You won't go nuts trying to drive this car in traffic. Also, like the Si, the Civic Type-R comes standard with adjustable dampers and a limited slip differential. And the limited slip does do a really good job. You can trick it a little bit if you're trying to hammer on the car from a stop or somewhere in first gear while turning. It doesn't necessarily love that, and it will show its front-wheel drive roots because it does still want to plow. But the nice thing with the limited slip is you can just lift throttle just a hair and it will tuck right back in line and it will go exactly where you want. So the nice thing with the steering, it is really sharp. The turn-in on this car is just great. And I found a couple times where a turn came up a little tighter than I thought it might be, and I had to dial in a lot more effort, really sudden, and the car just pivots and responds. And on these back roads, like I said, we're not going very fast. I'm doing 36 miles an hour right now, but there's a lot of shifting involved, and the shifter in this car is classic Honda shifter. They were known for making great front-wheel drive shifters, and they're all cable actuated, and they're very good, and this is one of them. The new Civic Si was not like this by comparison, so it's really great to have something with some feel to it. As far as the rest of the car is concerned, the Si comes with heated seats. The Civic Type-R does not. These are different seats. They are red seats in the front. The rears are black for some reason. I don't hate it. Some people do because it mismatches. The seats themselves are very comfy. If you're built any wider than myself, you will disagree with that because they are very tightly bolstered. There's no lumbar support, which some people will hate, some people won't mind. I'm kind of in the in-between with that. The sound system in here is not branded with any premium brand. It is a, you know, good multi-speaker setup. It is above average given it's not branded with anything. I really, you know, it's got enough volume, it's got pretty good clarity. The low end is pretty good, like 90% of the time. Honda's infotainment system is kind of mid-pack at best. The graphics feel a little outdated. The navigation on this car is a straight rip from, I believe, TomTom, but it could be Garmin. In any case, the navigation software is a straight rip. It is not Honda software. The interface is completely different from the Honda interface, and really neither of them are that great. The good thing is you've got separate buttons for your climate control. You do have some separate buttons for key sound system functions and a real volume knob. And the car does support Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, so there's not much of a need to worry about stock Honda infotainment here because you don't have to deal with it if you don't like it. The one other thing mentioning with this car is that it's just big. It just feels kind of big. And that's not really a complaint with Honda, it's just a complaint of all cars in the industry right now. We've got someone here on the rally in an E34 BMW 5 Series, which at the time when that car came out in the early mid-90s, that was a mid-size sedan. And now that's the size of a BMW 3 Series. So this Civic, if you kind of take that same analogy, this Civic is kind of the size of an older Accord. Like, everything's gotten bigger. And this is a really fun car. It's a really good car. But my earlier impressions of the car feeling kind of heavy and a little bulky and a little... It's not playful. It's technically really good, but it's not playful. It's not light on its feet necessarily. In any case, 2020 Honda Civic Type-R, technically very good, viscerally very, very good. I really have enjoyed driving this. I am enjoying this car more than I thought I would, given my feelings coming out of the Civic Si. So yes, it is $12,000 more than a Civic Si, but if you really, really care about the driving experience, it is worth it. And that is, of course, not to say the Si is a bad car. A lot of people have Sis and love them. I think the Si really comes into its own if you use it as a good starting point and modify it to be your own. Whereas the Type-R feels right out of the box really ready to party, and it's very, very good at it. And that is it for this review of the 2020 Honda Civic Type-R. Thank you so much for coming along with us today, both in-car and on the Pumpkin Spice Rally. We really would like to thank everyone who took the time to put this rally together. It covered about 110 miles of Pennsylvania back roads, and it was a beautiful day, even with the rain. So a big thank you to all of the volunteers who came together and put that together and invited us along for the journey. Of course, if you like what we're doing here at Out Motorsports and would like to keep up with what's coming next, please do subscribe to the channel right here on YouTube, like this video, and give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram. If you're looking for words to go along with the video here about the Type-R, give us a look at outmotorsports.com. We will have a link to the written review in the description below. And one more thing, if you've got your own story to share, whether that's track time, rallycross, autocross, back roads, rallies like this, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll put a link to contact us in the description below. We would love to be the platform for sharing your automotive adventures as well as ours. Until next time, please drive safe, stay safe, and we'll see you again soon.